Evolution Journal editors resign.
Like, imagine if Nat Geo was like, hey, come take photographs for Nat Geo. And like, you know, if we accept your photograph, we'll charge you $4,000.
Hold on. No, that's not $4,000 if they accept the article. That's $4,000 to submit, whether or not they accept it or not.
I don't feel like this is surprising at all that they're, you know, using AI to do the editing and that AI sucks at it.
Yeah, but what if they put it on be careful, this is a scientific journal mode?
VW leaks location data for 800,000 EVs.
Like, there is no way that this could happen without substantial, without someone just being terrible at their job.
When stuff like this happens, I tend to assume that it was gross incompetence, and I'm usually right in the end. Hello, how the tech are you? This is our weekly tech show on Eplex Media. We talk about tech news and science news and whatever tech and science stuff we feel like talking about. I am historian Matt. I am a co-producer and co-host on this show. My other co-hosts will introduce themselves for their section, so we're just going to jump right into my stories. I've got 2 stories, and it's probably going to be kind of long. They're doozies here. But my first one is Evolution Journal editors resign. What am I talking about? But basically all but one member of the editorial board of the Journal of Human Evolution resigned, all in mass. And this is kind of crazy. The journal is owned by Elsevier. I hope I pronounced that properly, but I probably didn't. Anyways, don't really care about them because they're the jerks of this story. The quote from the editorial board and the resignation statement that they posted on Twitter: sustained actions by Elsevier are fundamentally incompatible with the ethos of the journal and preclude maintaining the quality and integrity fundamental to JHE's success, JHE being the Journal of Human Evolution. Elsevier eliminated the roles of copy editor and special issues editor. And Elsevier responds with, editors should not be paying attention to language, grammar, readability, consistency, or accuracy of proper nomenclature or formatting, which is kind of all stuff that editors really need to do. In the fall of 2023, this is another quote from the editors. So in the fall of 2023, for example, without consulting or informing the editors, Elsevier initiated the use of AI during production, creating article proofs devoid of capitalization and of all proper nouns. This sounds strange, but there's a lot of stuff in science journals. There's a lot of terms and stuff that you would and nouns basically that you may think are just regular. If you don't know anything about it, you may think they're just like regular words and don't need to be capitalized, but they are in fact proper nouns. And it seems like this is the error that this AI they're using made. So it's not properly trained for science journals, and specifically this science journal. More quotes from the editors: these AI changes reversed the accepted versions of the papers that had already been properly formatted by handling editors. And later they said, AI processing continues to be used and regularly reformats submitted manuscripts to change the meaning and format and require extensive author and editor oversight during the proof stage. The journal charges $3,990 for all submissions. So that's charges to authors who, make these or submit articles to be published in the journal, not charge for people to actually get the journal. I didn't get how much they charge, but that is a big thing with these science journals. They charge both people submitting and charge the people who want the journals, and they don't even pay usually the people who review these articles, although some of the editors, I believe, are full-time positions. So yeah, this almost $4,000 is far more than most authors can afford, so it doesn't even make sense. And finally, and the craziest thing, and it's kind of our fault for not covering this, but this apparently is the 20th mass resignation from a science journal since 2023. So 20th in the past 2 years. What do you guys think? I should say since early 2023. Okay, sorry. Dave?
I'm surprised that we haven't heard about these 20 mass resignations on another show that we do that covers the state of public intellectualism in our society.
Yeah.
Yep.
What show is that?
That's called the Intellectual Dollar Tree, and you shouldn't listen to it.
If you're interested in this show, then you probably won't like that one.
So this isn't like I don't feel like this is surprising at all that they're using AI to do the editing and that AI sucks at it. Most things that we try and use AI for, it sucks at. Like the majority of things that people have gone, oh, AI should do that. It sucks at doing that. Not to say it sucks at everything. Like there are a few things that AI is actually good at, but this clearly is not one of them. And also this really shouldn't be the job of an AI. If you're talking about like science journalism, like you should be treating this as like you need to be very careful with these journals, with these articles. You can't just give it to a computer and say, hey, do your best. That might work for like a listicle about, the 10 best furniture to buy for your new tiny home. But like for a science journal, this is like AI should be nowhere near this, period. Yeah. And also like it is shocking to me that that these journals don't pay the authors for their articles. Like imagine if Nat Geo was like, hey, come take photographs for Nat Geo. And like, if we accept your photograph, we'll charge you $4,000.
Hold on. No, that's not $4,000 if they accept the article. That's $4,000 to submit, whether or not they accept it or not. So that's basically
so it doesn't even
charging $4,000 to review the article.
Good Lord. Okay, that makes it even worse.
Yeah, pretty much.
Like this is insane to me. Like I totally understand paying to read the journal. Like that is fine. Absolutely charge people to read the journal, but don't charge the people that like make the content for the journal. That's insane.
Yeah, it's crazy. I don't know how they get away with this. And so to be fair on the AI, I think they thought that they could just use it to like fix grammar and spelling mistakes, that sort of stuff. It's not intended to write the articles, or come up with new science or something like that. It's just supposed to be what you would think would be fairly easy for the AI to do, which is just fix grammar, fix spelling, do like copy editor type work that should be fairly straightforward. But apparently, because it doesn't understand the the industry basically that it's in, it's screwing that up royally and making more work for the editors who do the real work and fix the real problems.
But we do have like better tools than AI for fixing grammar and spelling mistakes. Like that is something it's like okay at, but it's not even as good as like the non-AI tools that do the same thing.
Yeah.
And it also is more expensive to run.
Yeah, but what if they put it on be careful, this is a scientific journal mode?
Don't think that's going to work.
Like an AI is invariably going to make changes that change like the meaning of something when it's deciding like, oh, this is a grammar mistake. It's going to change the meaning of something.
Do you think they dropped it in the chat GPT and before they did that, they were just like, pretend you're a copy editor for a scientific journal?
Yep. I'm sure that's what they did.
That's probably essentially what they did. Yeah. So what really surprises me is that there's been 20 other mass resignations. It was unclear if that was all under the same company. Because Elsevier like owns a lot of journals, right? I've heard of them a lot and having similar problems. But I'm surprised that we haven't heard about this earlier. So yeah, this is crazy.
That industry needs to be, shaken up by maybe journals that actually are like not for profit and like don't charge the people who like make them possible.
Well, there is I forget what it's called. It's not really a journal, but we're a place online where you can upload your science articles for free to be reviewed by other scientists, and then people download it for free as well.
Okay.
I forget the name
Science
of it.
Craigslist.
No, but it's really popular and well known, and I forget it, and I'm sure somebody who watches this, if enough people actually watch this show, somebody will comment.
You're talking about JSTOR?
I think so. Yeah. Yeah. Is that it?
That's it's free for academics and whatnot. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So a lot of scientists have been moving to that instead. There's a bit of problem with that because a lot of these journals will claim ownership of the article itself, and once they're submitted to these journals, the original author cannot submit it somewhere else. But I don't know exactly how well that's been. I don't know if that's been litigated.
That's insane. Unless you're signing away your copyright for something, you own the copyright, period.
Yeah,
if you wrote
I think
it.
that's what they're trying to claim.
Like, unless you sign away your copyright, someone can't claim copyright ownership of something. Someone can claim, like, if you sign like a limited, what's it called? I can't remember the name of it, but basically if you sign something that says someone else has exclusive access to distribute your, whatever product you've made, article or picture or whatever, unless you sign that, like, then they would be able to say, like, well, we don't own this thing, but we have exclusive rights to it.
That's an exclusivity agreement.
Okay, yeah,
that makes sense.
Whatever.
But like copyright ownership, like, no one should ever sign away their copyright ownership for an article that they, a scientist
that's
wrote.
Basically what I meant, though, but that didn't mean sign away the copyright.
I mean, copy editing isn't just grammar, right? It's also like, when I've had people copy edit my work, they've also, like, there's other stuff, like they'll maybe give you some suggestions about, well, you should maybe reword this, and they might not suggest how to reword it or whatever, but a good copy editor will take, like, a incomprehensible gobbledygook, like what I write into a Google Doc, and turn it into an article that a lot of people are interested in reading and refer to.
And a bad copy editor is ChatGPT.
Right. It takes the gobbledygook that I put in, and it was like, well, I could do better than that.
Yeah. And
I can make this gobbledygook.
Even if you don't have friends that will do the copy editing for free, like, they're not that expensive to hire, for short stuff. For
I'm sure there are, like, so many better solutions than, using AI. And it's probably not even cheaper. Like, I can't imagine that, like, signing up for, like, the ChatGPT, whatever it is, to get their API access to feed, like, thousands of tokens every day or whatever. I can't imagine that's very cheap.
I don't know, but it's actually even more expensive because they have to pay real editors to go fix the thing that AI made.
Yep.
This is like this is the enshittification of the science journal. Fantastic.
Yes, it is. Yep.
Well, yeah, I'm just real surprised we haven't heard any of our usual rogues gallery of Wednesday people bringing up any of these sets of resignations. But these people are probably resigning for correct reason. Not nobody here gave me a Nobel Prize. So,
yep.
Well, that's not great. What do you got next, Matt?
All right, moving on to my next topic. Another more craziness, but this one is basically VW leaks location data for 800,000 EVs. So location data for over 800,000 Volkswagen EVs were found on the internet. There's several terabytes of data were left on an Amazon cloud instance unprotected. A whistleblower alerted Der Spiegel and the Chaos Computer Club of the leak. The data was actually able to be linked to specific owners by, I think it was the Chaos Computer Club was able to do it, including 2 German politicians. The vulnerability has since been patched, although the error was described as a misconfiguration by the company handling the data, which is not actually Volkswagen directly, but a subcontractor. There's no indication that anyone other than Der Spiegel and the Chaos Computer Club accessed the data. What do you guys think? Have you heard about this at all?
This is horrifying. So when they say a misconfiguration of the data, like if it's unprotected, I'm assuming if this is blob storage, they probably just left on, like, the anyone can access this checkbox, which is, like, astounding to me. If this isn't blob storage, if it's more like like block storage that housed like a database, like database actual files for a database, then like how did their block storage leak? That should be tied to a specific machine. And if the machine was compromised, then I have to think that it was compromised because of like maybe a default username and password. Like there is no way that this could happen without substantial without someone just being terrible at their job.
What if it was an AI?
That's the word I was looking for. An incompetent AI.
From what I can tell from the article, it didn't go into extreme details. It sounds like it was just something that was left accessible by everybody, like you're saying, the blob storage without the you make private checkbox checked. Like it was just open for anybody to access, and the only reason why tons of people hadn't accessed it is they just didn't know what the link was, right? So this whistleblower just basically gave the link to their speaker in the Chaos Computer Club.
Security through obscurity.
Exactly.
Yep. Yeah. Yet another reason to hate S3, because like those permissions aren't exactly straightforward. Like I don't know if you've ever managed an S3 like data store, blob storage. There are a lot of different permissions, and when you're setting it up, they don't really make it very clear. I mean, you do have to be incompetent to not like figure it out. So I'm not saying this wasn't incompetence, but the fact that like you actually have to like do a bit of research and figure out like how do you configure an S3 bucket so that like not anyone can just go in there and read all the data. Like the fact that it's not so straightforward that anyone can do it is mind-boggling to me. And it's yet another reason that like I think the fact that the entire tech industry has basically moved to S3 as the standard for blob storage is like that is horrible, because S3 is a terrible protocol. It is, the permissions for it are hard to understand. S3 is confusing. S3 is like the API for S3 is really bad. It's good at like very certain things, but it's terrible at almost everything else. Like you can't treat S3 just like a file storage system, because that's not what it is. It's a key value store. And everyone that like literally everything I've seen treats S3 like file storage. So now we're getting beyond like the permissions, but I hate S3.
Clearly.
You know, it could have been a thing like where while someone was building it, they left the permissions open to make sure everything worked, and then they just didn't go back in and tighten it back down. Because I've certainly been working on things before where I'm just like, well, screw it. I'm gonna give myself permission to all of this stuff right now. And then, but before I'm like, hey, I would like to put this on the web, I'm like sitting there staring at like permissions that I'm probably incompetent as far as understanding. But I mean, in my case, we're just talking about an IceCast server or something. So
when stuff like this happens, I tend to assume that it was gross incompetence, and I'm usually right in the end.
Yeah. And again, it's, you know, they subcontracted somebody out. And like HK was saying, there's not a whole lot of competition in this marketplace. And so you don't really have a competitor to S3 that's out there that's like, hey, our permissions are real easy to understand. And guess what? They're locked down. So you have to go in and unlock it down on an individual permission basis.
I mean, the biggest competitor to S3 is like as a protocol is the Microsoft Azure blob storage, which also has a ridiculous protocol. But like, I think that if you're going to do blob storage, the best protocol you can use, unless you have like extremely specific needs, is WebDAV. WebDAV has everything you would need for the vast majority of use cases. The things that S3 does that WebDAV doesn't support are things like multi-part uploads, things like paginated file listings. But like those things are things that you could either extend WebDAV as a protocol to do, or you just like configure your blob storage by using your brain instead of just like throwing everything into the top directory listing. And then, you know, you'll you can get around like paginated listings pretty easily. You just like use subdirectories. But like another thing about S3 is like S3 is kind of the standard protocol that everyone else uses. DigitalOcean Spaces uses S3. Cloudflare R2 uses S3. Backblaze B2 uses S3. Like all these other competitors to S3 use the same protocol. And it sucks because you end up with a whole lot of systems that are designed specifically with just an S3 backend as their only blob storage option. And it sucks because it's a bad protocol. It's designed with like very specific use cases in mind that the vast majority of software doesn't need. Things like I kind of understand like the operation cost things where like, you know, listing blobs in a bucket will cost you a certain amount. So like you can list things a certain number of times for free, and then if you keep doing that, it starts to cost you money. And things like egress might cost you very little, but ingress costs you a lot. You know, various different cost things, but like it's not like that's not supported by WebDAV as a protocol. Like you just give a custom error message. Like WebDAV as a protocol supports almost everything S3 does. S3 just has other things under the hood that you could build a WebDAV server that has those under the hood, you know?
Well, but I mean, in this case, it just sounds like people were lazy and incompetent, or like it doesn't sound like the fact that it was S3 is necessarily the reason. It sounds like somebody didn't care, didn't know, left something open that maybe they left something open for testing and didn't go back in and closed it later. Like any number of things could have happened here, but this is like a stalker's dream. This kind of data.
Yep.
Well, what's scary is as I said, they found 2 German politicians in this big data set, and they're able to track they were able to determine based on where the tracking data put these people that it was the politicians, right? Could you imagine a foreign adversary getting a hold of this data and have its very detailed location data?
Or for example, is there a way to say Luigi in German? If somebody like that maybe got a hold of this information.
Right.
But then the Germans would be conflicted.
Yeah. And there goes any possibility of monetization.
It's always me. All right. Well, those are stories, and you said it was going to take a long time. Didn't take that long, and the first one was frustrating, and the second one was like kind of terrifying. Hey, everybody! Thanks for checking out How the Tech Are You Tech Show. We tend to do it once a week, though. The holidays being as they are. You can support this project more broadly at echoplexmedia.com. Click the support link at the top, and there's some great new all-over print shirts that you might want to take a look at. The Media Wench designed them. They're sort of geometric and cool and don't really mean anything, but they look great. And if you're watching on YouTube, you are legally required to click one or both of the things I'm pointing at. Have a great tech and week.